Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us in our clubhouse chat. Tonight, we will be chatting about careers in sports management as usual. We have with us Johnson Kanji Rathingal. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, Johnson.
Yeah, I think that's a really good first try.
Johnson has an experience of over 8 years in sports media and is currently with Engage Digital Partners as a project manager on the Bridge to India project. He has worked with clients such as Chelsea, International Cricket Council, that is the ICC, Major League Baseball, MLB, and the Indian Super League, and many, many others. That's quite a clientele list there, Johnson. So, really excited to kick off this chat with you. Glad to have you over here.
I'm really happy to be part of this conversation. Yeah, ready when you
Yeah,
are.
so just to start off with, Johnson, let's start off with your journey into sports. I'm interested to know how it started as a player, or did you just choose sports as a career, sports management as a career from the get go? If you could take us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play like football and cricket for my school. I don't claim to be the best, player of my batch or anything. But what I used to do is I used to write for a bunch of websites when I was in school. And eventually when I started studying. I got my first full-time opportunity with Sports Interactive, I think when I was in first year of bachelor's. I started out full-time working in sports from there. I spent like about 3 years from second year onwards the following year with Digi Osmosis, which was a digital agency that used to work with sports clients. So that's where I work with different Indian clients on sports media and the digital content part of sports. That's pretty much how it all began. I don't claim to have started knowing that I would end up working in sports, but I had an idea that I did want to do something in sports itself. I think the media part and the digital content part, it all figured it out on its way.
So interesting. That's what my second question was about. That when did become apparent to you that you wanted to do something in sports? Was it when you picked up your right from your first job, or was it something that you'd planned much earlier than started working?
So, like I said, I started in 2014 full time. I think it was about 2017, like in the first quarter, where I actually figured that I like what I'm doing. Digital and sports is something that I'm enjoying, and I really should pursue and try to make a career out of this. That's when I decided that I need a little bit more expertise, and I decided to study further. I decided to go to France to study for my masters, and I think that's where I actually took it like really seriously, that we got to make a proper career out of this, and especially with sports management being the ultimate goal. So it was about kind of taking into your expertise that you build along the way and then figuring out how do we make a career out of this. So 2017 would be when I actually really started working on it as a proper career.
Great, great. So if you could take us through a little bit about Engage Digital first, and then what your current role is and what it covers.
So yeah, I joined Engage in 2019 as a project manager. Engage Digital Partners is a full service digital agency. We work with lots of sports rights holders and sports clients on different remits. My job is I'm a project manager on the Bridge to India project. Bridge to India is pretty much us working with international rights holders and leagues and teams and trying to engage with the Indian audience for them. And in the last 2 years, it's been a really thriving sort of space. We work with Major League Baseball and some top Premier League clubs, including London's finest. And even beyond that, I think in the last couple of years at Engage, we work with the likes of ICC, with ISL, and even in India, really nice, interesting projects like FC Bengaluru United, JSW Sports, and Spectacom. So it's a market, or it's a space that we're constantly thriving, and we're exploring further opportunities as we go along.
Great, great. Interesting plans that you mentioned over there, Chelsea and the MLB. So if you don't mind me asking, if you could if we could deep dive into that, and if you could explain what exactly you guys do with Chelsea and MLB as clients.
Yeah, sure. So I can't get too much into detail, but I can broadly tell you, it's about engaging the Indian audience for them. with them, with clients, obviously being like international clients. It's working with their marketing team to kind of help and further their brand objectives, try and engage with their Indian fan base, grow that fan base along the way. Of course, the remit is different for each client. So for example, with the ICC, with like Major League Baseball, it's completely different from what it would be for a team. But that's, I think, where we come in, trying to understand what exactly are the client objectives, and how do we further that within, using our skill set as a digital agency.
Sure. So you mentioned that you've worked with Sports Interactive and in DigiOsmosis as well, and now that you're also working with international clients. So, what is the main difference that you would say is in handling an Indian league or an Indian club and an international league and an international club?
I think it's down to the remit, or rather, it's down to the brand objectives. With Indian clients, it's always growth oriented. It's about building something from the ground up. Of course, this comes with creating an identity, then growing the audience along the way. With the bigger the client, you don't have to worry about creating the identity because that's already there. So then, as an agency, our job is to build on the good work of the client already and try and further their brand objectives by sort of enhancing their digital content, or their digital offering. And I think that's the biggest difference, where with a lot of Indian clients, there's a lot of it's a lot to do with growth, and it's a lot to do with sort of building an identity, which is really interesting, and like something I really enjoy. But at the same time, with the bigger, or rather with international clients, it's about already having an identity, and how do we connect to the Indian audience with that.
Sure, sure. So at this moment, of course, to the viewer, to our listeners, I would like to say that I'm opening the floor for any questions. So if you have any questions, please you can raise your hands, and I can definitely invite you to the speaker panel. Right. So moving on with our discussion, Johnson, what would you say are some of the challenges that you faced in your journey in sports media? Some examples of the hustle and bustle that you go through in this role.
I think with being in a space like digital, there's always things that you need to adapt and kind of learn. I think that's the constant challenge. It's a I mean it's I wouldn't say it's like a big hurdle, because it keeps you on your toes, but at the same time it is sometimes challenging with like the rise of new platforms. Every time there's like a new development, and still constantly deliver value and meet your KPIs for the brand, because at the end of the day, it's about furthering their objectives and supporting their marketing and their communications, using obviously our skill set and our expertise.
Sure, sure. And if I ask you, how important is it to have a roadmap, to succeed in your career in sports management? So when you started, did you have a roadmap as to where you would go, or is it just along the way that you found out something that you were interested in and then build a career on it?
I think like with my personal experience throughout the last 8 years, it's been something that's constantly developed. I always wanted to do something in sports, that was clear. But what exactly I wanted to do is something I figured out as we go along the way, and it was something that I wanted to build on that expertise on. So the roadmap, I think you need to have a roadmap in terms of what exactly your end goal is, or where do you want to kind of see yourself in 5 years, as cliche as that sounds. But you have to be flexible, because you can't be rigid about your roadmap and your objectives, because the situation, the environment you're working in, that will constantly change. So your roadmap also has to be flexible to adapt to that kind of change.
Okay, great, great. So just asking Johnson, since you've handled, international clients as well, and sport as we know was on hold during the pandemic last year, and also some part of this year with the IPL being cancelled and again reopening right now. So what were the challenges back then when there was no sport in the world, right? And you had international clients as well as Indian clients. So what was the challenge in your role that you faced, and how did you sort of overcome those challenges at that in that period?
As a digital agency that predominantly works with content, a lot of our production plans all of those kind of take the back seat. It becomes something that you got to pivot and find creative solutions for. With us being a digital agency, a lot of our production objectives, a lot of our plans where we'd want to go out and film, we had to pivot from that. We had to kind of find creative solutions in the pandemic with everyone being back home. I think, but with every obstacle, you got to figure out a way how to build a new sort of expertise. Remote production is what we started working, a lot on. So while we wouldn't be able to go out and shoot as much as we would want to, it also gave us the opportunity to shoot a lot more remotely. I think that was the biggest challenge we faced pre-pandemic and post. The way around is kind of finding creative solutions to tackle every problem along the way.
So yeah, moving on with our chat, I was asking what are the skill sets or what is the skill set that someone needs to possess according to you to have a career in sports media? You've been in this field for over 8 years. So what is that specific skill set that you would suggest that someone should acquire or maybe work on before, working in sports media?
In terms of sports media, I think you got to look at it from two different sort of spheres. You have the creative side of it, where if you really like filming or you like graphic design, it is a really interesting part of sports media. The aesthetics of both, like something you can shoot on camera or something you can create graphically is something that's constantly growing with sports media every passing year. Whereas if you're on the project management side of things, it's you got to constantly be aware of what's happening new in the market and how would you kind of use that to your advantage. So, for example, if there is a new development in terms of a new platform and a new form of content, is that something that piques the interest of your brand? And if it does, how would you apply it to that? And for someone starting out, I would just say being aware of your subject matter and the media landscape at that point in time, because as I said, every 6 months is a new development. There's a new form of content. Like a year ago, Reels wasn't as popular as it is right now. So you got to constantly adapt, and you'll only be able to adapt if you're constantly aware of the environment you'll be working in.
How do you think sports shaped you as an individual now in your current role? So you've played some amount of sport. I know you've said that you were not the best athlete, but still, if you could, tell us something of how sports shaped you as an individual and helped you in your career in sports media.
I think it's a very cliche thing to say, but getting the best out of your team, or rather always realizing that you'll only be better if everybody on your team is better is the biggest learning that I've applied from playing sport to the job. So for example, you don't win a football game or a cricket game unless all 10, 11 of you on the team perform. Similarly, even in profession, if everybody is performing to the best of their ability and you're supporting each other to do that, I think that is the biggest learning you can take out of playing sport to working in sport, because you can't move, you can't achieve all your objectives and KPIs on your own. You need everybody pulling in the same direction. And I think if you can apply the teamwork you would have on the field into your job, whatever that is, whether that's you working in operations, or whether that's working in coaching, I think that's the one biggest piece of advice I would give. Try and get the teamwork aspect that is that's a given when you're playing sport. You can apply that to your work, that's great.
Great. So with again, as you said, with the pandemic posing new set of challenges, what are the opportunities that you see in digital, particularly digital in sports, rising in India and maybe abroad globally as well?
In terms of content, I think with everybody being back home, it's opened up a lot of more new media, or another word for it would be alternate media. We've seen the rise of fan channels in the UK over the last decade. It's having an opinion is something every sports fan does. Running a YouTube channel where you can talk about your opinion, or creating social media content where you want to talk about your opinion and you want to maybe get a laugh out of the people who think the same way, follow the same sport. I think that's something every young aspirant in sport should make the most of, especially with the pandemic and the situation that's created. It's not that it's not that easy nowadays to go out and find a job where you'll be on the ground and you'll be working ops. But that also should open up the possibility that if I want to really work in media, I can start my own channel, and not so much the quality of the channel, but it just gets you aware of the kind of the things you need to have, and the checklist that you need to be aware of, so that when you eventually get a job, you are aware of the kind of responsibilities you'll be tasked.
Great, great. So thank you. We have two speakers who joined us in the panel. Hi, Andrew. Uh, how are you? Please state your question.
Hi, Johnson. Good evening. Am I audible?
Hi, Andrew. Yep.
Yeah, great. I just had a small question. With the rise of digital over the few years, and especially during the pandemic and everything, nowadays almost every club and every league has their India page. And I mean, these are the small examples. What do you see the scope in the future for, in terms of jobs, in terms of maybe increasing fan bases for separate sports other than cricket? What scope do you see through all of this?
That's a really nice question, Andrew. Just in terms of absolute value, if I have to say, when I started out in 2014, the amount of opportunities you had in to work in sports to where we are right now in 2021, there's been a huge rise in that, and I think that's only going to increase. Just as you said, like with international brands taking an interest in the Indian market, and kind of seeing the potential that the Indian market has, it only kind of will help the number of opportunities rise. uh, as you mentioned, new media and sort of the stuff with everybody taking more interest in India. uh, I think career opportunities will diversify. If I have to put it accurately, it will no longer be the same 10 jobs that we had last year. I think there will be newer jobs, sort of like getting into sports. So, for example, influencer management, something that was only limited to an advertising for an FMCG brand, that will become a bigger part of the remit that a sports client wants. Similarly, monetization or commercialization will no longer just be something that a sponsorship team that would normally be an on ground activity, not something that they would perform. It will also bleed into digital. We've already seen that in the last couple of years. So the opportunities will rise. I think it will just diversify.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So actually, this question came up to my mind because recently on LinkedIn, I was looking at some opening where some throughout this conversation, you have spoken many times of on type a lot of times on reels. So I have seen
Yep.
2 3 openings where literally they want guys who can only make reels. So hence this kind of question came up. Thank you.
Yep, exactly. Actually, Andrew, with each brand having tailored objectives from a certain market. So, for example, Reels does really make a big difference in reaching out to a younger audience. So, if you have somebody who builds an expertise in doing that, that becomes a specialized job role going forward. So, I think, as I said, it's just about being more aware of the space we're in and kind of keeping up to the times.
And also, sorry, last question. Also, do you feel, I think the answer is yes, but do you also feel that foreign brands or companies, when they want to come into India, even before they come, if they make a good, strong digital presence, it helps them much more than it would come if they first came and then tried to build some digital around it? If you get what I'm trying to say.
Yep, I mean, I completely agree with that. I think you need to have a digital footprint first to kind of pique the interest of an international brand in the Indian market. It is very hard for someone to see the potential of what they can get out of India if they don't really have a digital footprint. Because I mean, it is what it is. Like the most of the world is digital right now. So unless and until if I'm an international brand, unless and until I know that there is a fan base for me to activate in India, and there's a potential for me to actually grow that and then attract interest to get my like to get like to a point where I'm getting return on investment, it is not going to pique my interest to actually come to India. So I think digital definitely, in my opinion, is the first step for like most future brands. However, having said that, I think it all depends on each brand and their tailored like objectives from an international market.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and thank you, Johnson, for answering all the questions. We have another guest with us, that is Chinmay. Hi, Chinmay, how are you? Please state your question.
Hi, Kunal, and hi, Johnson. Hope
Hi,
you're doing
Chinmay.
well. So I had a question regarding, there was a rise of people engaging with the content after pandemic, and people, there were more brands and more clubs, willing to come in India. How much do you feel that after everything starts and after people start working outside their houses and start everything gets normal? How much do you feel things are going to change? If it's positive or negative?
That's a really interesting question, Chinmay. I think with content or other with consumption habits, actually, it's always follows a pattern. Like you got to build interest and kind of get the user to start like really liking your content. So, for example, if it is someone who started following an international sport during the pandemic through digital content, engaging with the social media profiles and all, even beyond once things go back to normal, uh, it's not going to you're never not going to engage with that content or that social media handle again. Okay, maybe you may have less time on your hands to do it, but the fact that you did engage with it, you did pick up an interest in that. It's that sort of conversion that an international sports rights holder wants, because that's the conversion of a user into a fan. And while the time the fan would dedicate would obviously depend on the current situation. If someone has to go out for work for your 9 to 5 job, you're probably not going to spend as much time on Instagram checking out their content as you once did. But you still would once you're back, because you want to keep in touch with what happened and what you missed out on. So I think the pandemic, or rather with everybody being back home and kind of spending more time on digital, that will only help in the long run for any brand that invested in connecting with the Indian audience. Because at the end of the day, a lot of digital content is about developing consumption habits.
Um, uh, yeah, that really helps. I also had one more question, if I can ask.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
What do you feel according to your analysis? Like multiple foreign brands coming in India, do you feel that just engaging with those content and with inspirational content which they put out, do you feel that we are having a really revolutionary changes in Indian sports, or it's just people engaging with content? Do you feel like, according to your analysis, what do you feel?
Like, quite frankly, Chinmay, I think it's the first step. Unless any foreign or any international brand doesn't take the first step, we'll not get to the point where they really want to come to India physically, and then they want to do something big. So the fact that any international brand for that matter takes interest and starts creating content, or starts engaging with the Indian market, it is firstly to test out their levels of interest in that market, and then to see the potential that they have. So unless we get past step one, we will not get to step two. Of course, once you do create digital content, the results that rights holders get out of uh, that kind of becomes the major, I would say, KPI, or the major factor in whether this leads to something substantial. But unless this doesn't do well, the eventual physical investment of time and effort will not happen. So it's a a longer process. But the fact that people are creating content specifically for India, and they're trying to engage with Indian fans, it's only a good step. It's only a step in the right direction.
Yeah, that's true. I can really see, I can see actually few of the changes, but I wasn't sure that it really would change something for India, or because the time span which people spent on India, like with the content and engaging with the content, it's very less. Even if they must like the content, but there is a difference, right? You must be knowing there is a difference when engaging happens and when people just like the content. So I just wanted to understand, like, is this helping really to create change when it comes to Indian sports?
I think the change in Indian sports is a bit of it's a bit further away. So, for example, if you really want to make a big difference in Indian sports, you got to first showcase that there is a significant potential, or a significant interest that you can tap into. I think, as I said, like digital is the first step. Then, depending on the results of that, that kind of will lead whichever international brand invest their time in that to the next step. So it's not really a 1 + 1 is to 2 sort of equation. There are a lot of nuances to it. But the fact that people are taking interest is only a good sign. How many of those convert and what the eventual changes in Indian sport, that is not really something we can predict. But it's definitely a good sign for that eventual change to come about.
Okay, thank you, Johnson, for answering, and I hope that answers your question, Chinmay. If you're
Yeah, yeah.
speaking, you're on
Thank
mute.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Moving on to our next guest, we have Anisha with us. Hi, Anisha. Please state your question.
Hi, Kanal, and hi, Johnson.
Hi, Nisha.
So my question is: currently, I'm working in a youth marketing company, and we deal with a lot of Gen Zs, like the youth of India, basically 18 to 24-year-olds. And along with not only rise in sports management, there's even been a constant, rise in their interest about esports. So, do you think that when we are saying careers in sports management, do you think even careers in esports is something which will rise in the future? And how can esports be a part of the education system? I just want to know your thoughts on that.
That's actually a really important question, especially with the rise and sort of the potential that esports has shown to the global market from India especially. Um, as if you follow esports, you know that we've got people nominated for the global esports awards for the last 2-3 years running. Which is just which is just signifies the potential that our market holds. Even if you go beyond that, you look at a lot of the top YouTube streamers, or rather the content creators in India right now. A lot of them, you out of the top 10, you'd find at least 4 to 5 esports athletes, or content creators who create mostly esports content. I think the finer details of what exactly would be the job roles, and like how exactly would this translate into full time professions, that is still developing. That's not something that I know for sure that I can say that okay, it's something that we should be we should have specifically part of the education system to kind of build expertise in. I'm not sure about that myself, but definitely there's a big potential in esports in India, and that potential is something that global brands are already taking interest in. So if you just look at the top 3 or 4 streamers in India right now from the esports space, they've all started out as YouTubers who created content of them playing esports. The fact that we don't really have consistent tournaments so far is probably the one thing that needs to be solved before it actually becomes a full time profession. But in terms of the content they can create playing these esports, that already is a full time profession, because that's what a YouTuber is. So, for example, if you put up 4 streams of you playing 2 hours a week, 2 hours a day in one week, that's your 4 YouTube videos where not only are you engaging with an audience live and while you're creating that content, but also for the audience who watches it later. And we've seen with the numbers in the last 2 years that young India, or rather, as you said, Gen Z, really they're more attracted to esports and the content created in esports as such, especially on social media. So I think it's a very interesting space, and it's a space that is that's growing exponentially with each passing month, and it's only exciting like how it's going to develop.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Johnson. That answered my
Thank,
question really well. Thanks.
Welcome.
thank you, Johnson. And also, just adding on to Johnson's point, your second point of the question is where do you study about esports, or you get information about the opportunities in esports. I would like to step in here and say that Sporjo is coming with something on esports. So keep watching our space if you're interested in esports, and we'll be launching something really, really soon on that.
Thanks, Kunal. Definitely will, follow for more information on esports.
Yes, thank you so much. Sorry for the promotion there, but just picking on your point. So we move on to our next guest, Swapnil. Hi, please state your question.
Yeah, hi Kunal. Hi Johnny.
Hi, Swapnil.
So I want to go to the basics. We have worked in the past, and I know how we used to work before, and before you did your masters. So, a simple question: how do you see the sporting industry work differently once you know all the know-hows after your sports management course? How talking about the holistic pictures? What are the major differences you have seen in yourself, in your pattern of work and everything?
Thanks, Swapnil. Like in terms of, if I could just say holistically, it doesn't change that much. With the masters, I think when I did decide to go, I kind of knew what I wanted out of it, and I wanted and what were, so you have your entire course module. Not every subject is going to be something that really appeals to you and something that you will take back when you find your job next. However, you need to know for sure beforehand what exactly is your subject. So, for example, anything to do with marketing and communications, I knew that this part of the module was really for me, and that is something I need to take back whatever I learn, and the rest of it is market knowledge, which helps you become a better professional in the sports space. And in terms of upskilling or rather something that you will change in the way you work, I think work is the biggest teacher. uh, I work very differently from how I did 2 years ago when I started out at Engage to where I am right now, and a lot of that, it just comes down to the team and the environment you're in. I kind of alluded to it earlier. You're only as good as your team. So it's if you're as a manager, it's your job to get the best out of them. And the more you have everybody pulling in the right direction, the better your results will translate. So I think in time with experience, you just realize, okay, this is what how I need to change the way I work, because holistically speaking, every brand will have similar every brand will have their own objectives, their own KPIs, and your job always remains the same, which is delivering value against those KPIs. How do you do that? How do you manage your team to do that? How do you get the best out of their individual expertise to drive value? I think that is the only thing that you have to learn along the way. In terms of like holistical changes, I don't think there were much.
Okay. Just one more question. I might sound
Yep.
silly, but I needed to ask how sustainable is doing a job in digital platform? Because at the have you ever thought of going into the business side of sports, or things might change anytime? So how sustainable is it personally and professionally? Because uh, I mean, if you're talking about a position, let's say a position in a company, so how far can you go?
That's a really nice question, and I think that comes down to the whole thing. Comes down to just adaptability, or rather, just something that I was talking about earlier, which is you got to keep up with the times and the trends. Because if you're working on the digital side of things, it's your job to constantly deliver value and to find different avenues to deliver value to the brand. So, for example, if like as you said, we worked in the past. Video production or long form video wasn't really my expertise when I started out working in sports. However, when the client and the opportunity did arise, it also gives you the opportunity to build an expertise in that, and that is what I think makes it sustainable in the long term. Where if there is an opportunity to kind of pick up a new skill to drive value in the same digital space, but in a different function, you got to take that opportunity and you got to make the most of it. Uh, Long term wise, I think the conversion of digital content is eventually how we make it sustainable. However, conversion could mean a lot of different things. Conversion could mean press coverage, and it could mean basically brand building in terms of the wider perception of the brand in the market. It could also mean ROI on the investment that the brand puts in for the content that's created. This would obviously vary from account to account, from client to client. But as on the digital side of it, as an agency, your job is to constantly deliver value, and as I said, just keep up with how differently you can deliver value.
Right. Thank you, John.
Most welcome.
Thank you so much, Johnson, once again, and thank you, Swapnil, for your questions. Moving on to our next guest, we have Vinamra with us. Hi, Vinamra. Please state your question.
Hi, Kunal. Thank you so much. Hi, Johnson. Hope
Hi,
you guys
Vinamra.
are doing fine. So my question is, I'm actually doing my undergrad in mass communication and multimedia right now, and I wanted to know what, since I'm not from a business background, does that hinder my idea or my motive to pursue masters in sports management, since I'm not from a business background, or that's okay for me to even pursue sports management even after that?
Hi, Vinamra. Quite frankly, I was exactly in your boat. I'm a mass media graduate from St. Xavier's who majored in journalism. So
Oh, great.
I would say that it definitely doesn't hinder your chances of actually wanting to get or learn the business side of like sports or anything that you want to. The only thing I would say is kind of like take the time out to actually explore what exactly in sports you want to do, because like sports is a very big place. There's operations, there's marketing, there's communications. Uh, if you have the chance to actually go out and figure out, okay, this is what exactly I like to do in sports, and if you want to learn the business side of that, once you have like experience under your belt, it becomes easier for you to identify where you want to study, what you want to do, and how do you convert that education, that the post graduation course that you do.
Okay, right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for answering my
Most
question.
welcome.
Thank you, Vinamra, and thank you, Johnson, once again. I think, okay, so guys, just putting it out there, I just have one question for Johnson. So if you guys have any questions, you can raise your hands. I can invite you to the speaker panel. Otherwise, we are short on time right now. So just one question, and that's going to be it. Okay, so yeah, my final question to you, Johnson, is what do you think? How do you think as to Sporjo fits into all of this? So you know what we do at Sporjo, right? So what would you say? What is, in your opinion, is that what Sporjo is doing for the sports management industry? What's your opinion on that?
Honestly, Kunal, I think it's a big like boon to the industry. Something like Sportjo didn't exist when I started out. I got my first job through letsintern.com, and I had to filter down the organizations to find a sports organization in that. So having a platform where that is specialized for sports jobs in India, it should definitely only help young aspirants in trying out different parts and different parts of the sports industry to figure out which exactly suits them the best. Uh, and like the array of opportunities and the organizations that you can apply to and try and pick up experience from on Sportjo, I think that only benefits any youngster or who wants to actually develop this into a career, develop their sports interests into a professional career. So it's only a blessing to have guys like Sportjo and you in this space. And I think the only way is up. I just hope everybody makes the most of that opportunity, because as I said, I think work teaches you the most. You have like your courses, which help you upskill, but you need to figure out what exactly is your expertise before you identify what's the course that will help you upskill.
Great, awesome. So, guys, on that note, thank you, Johnson, for joining us and giving us these incredible insights into careers in sports management. And thank you all for joining us tonight. Humble request to you all is to follow our club on Clubhouse and to follow us on social media. You can also follow Engage Digital. They're doing some amazing work with international sports clients as well. So please do follow them on social media to follow their work. And once again, thank you, Johnson, for joining us tonight.
Thanks a lot, Kunal. It was really a pleasure talking to everyone. Yeah.